I'll go around and stuff. Today is about Thompson's all-purpose water seal, and the application is concrete with rock on top, aggregate I guess is referred to, sealing, concrete driveway. Um, Instructions, okay, so I bought 10 gallons of it. I think I saw where the coverage would vary, and it certainly does. This is not a 2 plus 2 equals 4 sort of event. There are a lot of variables and factors involved. That's what I'm going to try to give you some insight in today to perhaps have a successful seal. Okay, so I got 10 gallons of it, and I had a gallon and a half, 2-gallon pump sprayer that I actually had for using bleach. So it doesn't have the same kind of seals, at least that's my assumption, as a regular hand pump sprayer. And I thought I'd be okay with that, and so far I have been. I was going to spray it on. That looked like the quick and easiest way to do it. I did try with a brush, and that was going to take forever and not very satisfactory. It didn't want to transfer very well with a brush. The stuff out of the can is milky. Looked like thinned milk. The can also said 5-gallon can. It says shake well. Well, 5 gallons, if it's like 7 pounds a gallon, it's 35, 40 pounds. And I'm an old guy, so yeah, I rolled it around and I shook it from end to end. And my overall take is that the formulation of it, it doesn't really settle. It's not like paint where you can get the pigments or whatever are to settle at the bottom. But I did attempt to shake it up. And actually, when I emptied one can, there really wasn't any kind of settlement, if you want to call it that, in the bottom. It seemed to have been formulated so that it stays in its consistency pretty well in the can without being shaken. But okay, so I open up the can, which is a pain in the butt. The 5-gallon cans have this pour spout built into it, which you have to grab hold of and pull up. The first thing you do is you'll kind of break open a ring, and then you have to sort of pull that spout out of the can. And that can be hard. It's not, it's a little bit of a pull to get it out of there. Now I have a pair of adjustable vice grips, or whatever you want to call them, and I use that in combination with the finger to pull it up. You can, in fact, pull the whole cap off top if you pull too hard, and then you'll have to use something like a pair of pliers or something like that to pull the spout up. And there is a spout that's down flat, and it will pop out, it will pull out, and it's not hard plastic, but it is plastic, and you can get it out. And then you have to remove the seal that's in there, and there is a plastic seal and a little ring on it, and you'll have to pull that out. And again, I think I've opened 3 cans now, and I broke one of the tabs off that seal, so I had to use a pair of pliers to get the seal out. Okay, and that's just with the can. Now I pour my sealant into my hand pump sprayer. And I have power washed the concrete driveway. I power washed it with a 3000 psi power washer. I also use one of those. It's a circular thing you hook onto your power washer. It spins a head inside of it with brushes on it to help clean a larger area of the concrete quicker. And when I first used that, I was not happy with it, and I thought, well, that was a waste of money. This time I did use it, and I think in a more appropriate manner, as I would set it someplace, and let it, I was being too impatient. I would set it someplace and let it do its trick. And one of the things it did was it loaded the area with water, which then I could use a push broom to broom the dirty residue that comes off the concrete. And with the pressure washing, yeah, really high pressure, but you don't have a lot of volume. And so you wind up with dirty water sort of laying on top of your concrete. You need a way to get it off, and I wound up using a push broom. And also letting that brown, whatever it is, on rollers, I would set that in some area and let it flood a particular area of concrete, and then I could use the push broom to get it off of the concrete and the surrounding soil. Anyway, okay, so now I've got the all-purpose sealer in the pump. I have pressure washed the concrete and it is dry. This particular driveway is probably approaching 25 years old. As far as I can tell, it's never been sealed. There was nothing ever put onto it. In fact, I had to do some other prep work first before I could even get to the sealing part. So I take my pump out and I start spraying it, and I have to futz around with the head that's on the end of the sprayer to get it to act right. And that's just the nature of the beast, and depends on how much pressure you put in the pump as to how the sprayer head is going to perform. Comes out in a stream or comes out in a spray that's off like this or whatever. And you'll have to play with that, and it's not set it once and forget it, because it depends on how much pump pressure you have in that and how much sealer you still have in the tank. So I said, this is not a 2 and 2 equals 4. You're going to have to play with things. That's what I'm trying to get at. You can't just pick, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and that's it. You have to learn as you go along and adjust as you go along. And the spray head itself, you may have to adjust over and over again to get a decent spray pattern. Okay. So I start spraying, and I put it on, and I try to cover all of it so it looks like it's wet. I try to get the milky cover on everything, and it's a slow process. And as I get it all covered initially, if you look back where I've been, you start seeing areas that look like they're dry. Well, I missed that area. I need to come back and add some more. And there is some truth to that. You're not going to get it with a sprayer totally covered on the first go round. The spray head isn't going to be perfect. Okay, so I went back and covered some of that, and I go ahead and I have sections of concrete that I can deal with. It's been sectioned off into squares or rectangles, and so that's the way I handle the whole thing. I can go ahead and do a section at a time and complete it, let it dry, and then do another section. Okay, so I spray this whole section, and I get all done, and I'm start looking back at it, and there are various areas that appear that I didn't get any sealant on at all. So I go back and spray that particular area and make sure that it's milky covered. And then I let it set for a few seconds or a minute or two, and if I look again, I find more areas that appear to be that they've never been touched. They're dry, and I spray those again and make sure that it's covered properly with the milky surface. And what I've noticed, and this is another variable to be taken into effect, is what is the current temperature. If you're doing it in the sun, and like today, it's like 98 degrees outside right now. This is the thing I suggest you do in the morning, by the way, not middle afternoon, for a lot of reasons. One is concrete's going to be very hot. It could be 150 degrees or 40 degrees if it's directly in the sun, and you put this stuff on and it's water-based, and it's going to like instantly try to evaporate off. So I do it in the morning, If you can do it in a section at a time, that would be a section at a time. That would be better. There is some timing involved in this. You can't, I covered it all with the milky substance, and first time, and took a look, and well, there are areas that appear that didn't get any, so I go back and I cover those up, and then, I'm finishing up one area, and I turn around and look back, and it's like, well, there's more areas that seem like I haven't covered. So what I finally occurred to me is the stuff is actually being absorbed or seeping into the concrete, and where it appears dry, it has totally been drawn into the concrete and needs more. That's where the coverage area comes in. I told you, my particular driveway had never been sealed, so it just like drinks this sealant up. I mean, it just, you spray it, and a minute later it doesn't appear to be even wet anymore. It appears to be dry. It's been absorbed. And the temperature, it was warm. It didn't matter if I was in the shade or, and it was only 80 degrees or something. But it was disappearing. And so the coverage, this has to do with coverage, and that you need to check and keep applying it over and over and cover all those areas that appear to be that you've never managed to spray with your sprayer the first time. Realizing that part of that is true, that you didn't get it the first time, and realizing the other part of it is you did get it the first time, it's just been absorbed already. And you need to get it all sort of milky covered. Now, I've read you can overdo it, and one time out of 6 so far, I did overdo it. How do I know that I overdid it? Well, I got it all milky covered. It looks like it's whitish, okay? And I wait a little while, and it begins to get transparent, begins to disappear like it's supposed to. And I wait a little while longer, and it's still milky in some areas. And so I have a paint roller, a 9-inch paint roller, and I have attached it to a rod so I can stand up and do it. And first time I tried using a roller on it, I had some old paint rollers laying around here, and I don't know, they were not foam, they're not wool either, but whatever the material is, it had a very low nap. It didn't have much of a nap, and so I rolled it across all those areas, and in some cases where I had overdone it, yes, I could actually move milky sealant around, and I would roll it and continue to roll it and move the milky sealant around so that it got spread in areas that had absorbed it and was willing to take more if you could get sealant over to there. So again, a learning process. It's just not spray it down and forget it, because the concrete in some areas is going to like drink it up, in other areas it doesn't need much at all. It's not a fixed situation. You have to watch it, you have to learn from it. So I rolled it, and then I got thinking about it, I need some more rollers. So this time, because I have aggregates, rock sticking out of a little teeny pea gravel sticking out of the top, I bought rollers that had much bigger nap, and of course they're more expensive, but it lets me get over top and down in between the aggregate that I have, the rocks that are sticking out. And that has worked better for me. But I rolled it and tried to move it. I only have coated one area too much one time. All the other times I keep applying it and keep applying it until it's totally milky looking. And I wait, 3, 4, 5 minutes maybe. And I go out and look at it then, and most all of it has become transparent. And if it's still milky in some area, that's where I use the roller and I move it around. In the case where I put too much on, I could roll it literally off of that concrete section into surrounding earth or off the concrete. So I used a sprayer, and I used a 9-inch paint roller to move sealant around once it was on top, and that seemed to have worked pretty well. Because I'm doing sections around the edges, I can sometimes have too much sealant. I want to make sure that I get the edge really coated, and so I can come back, and with the roller I can move it around and move it out toward the center, and I just keep rolling. I find the big nap roller does a good job on doing that. Unfortunately, I can get about one. It depends on the area. Maybe I could do a, I don't know, a 10-foot by 10-foot section or a 15 by 15 and use the roller on that. And when I get done in that section, the roller is so yucked up with sealant that it's no longer effective. So I have to replace the roller for the next area I do. I tried, and it just doesn't work the same. It gets so clogged up with whatever the sticky material is in the sealer. So again, it's a learning process. How much to put on? I know I probably err on the side of too much as opposed to too little. My concrete had never been sealed, so I wanted really to get it down in there, and I just kept, if it looked like it was dry and I missed a spot, I coated it again. And I kept doing that. If it was dark, and you'll see them, either they'll appear totally dry, or they'll appear like just too dark, and it may be there's a hump or a valley in your concrete that you have to deal with. Concrete's not perfectly flat. So, with the sprayer and the roller, I've tried to get a very even distribution, and all of it covered, and all of it so that if the concrete to absorb as much as it wanted to. If it would take it, I kept adding it. Okay? And it would vary from spot to spot. It's not like the whole section wanted more and more and more, just certain parts of it. And maybe I had to do something with my pressure washing, or maybe the fact it's never been sealed, I don't know. But it is not a fixed equation. It is not a, well, you just do it this way and that's it. No, you have to adjust the way you do it depending on what you're seeing and what's happening in front of you. Okay, so I have sprayed it, and I err on the side of overspraying, putting too much on, and then I use the roller to, if there's any excess, I never got it to pool. It says in the instructions that if you have pooling of sealant, you need to take care of that issue right away, either wipe it up or do something with it, and that again is where I use the roller to, and sometimes I had to push pretty hard to, because I got aggregate, to move that sealant around to areas where the concrete would accept more sealer. Okay, so now I've rolled it, and I sprayed it, and I've rolled it, and it's becoming transparent. It is changing the temperature, the color of, it's darkening the overall appearance of the concrete. Now, I had power washed it pretty well, and it was whitish looking. Again, never been sealed. And when I put on and I get the concrete to absorb absolutely as much as it can without pooling, then as it dries and the sun takes care of it, it is darkening the overall appearance of the concrete. When I first section I did, I wasn't sure I liked it. It's like, it wasn't supposed to do that. It's supposed to be transparent. But, you know, never been sealed, dirty for 40, 30 years. So, but it does appear that by and large, all the concrete sections that I'm doing are going to have the same general darkness or lightness, if you will. There's no real mismatches, like one's perfectly white and the other one's dark. I'm not experiencing that. Again, I've been attempting to get the concrete to absorb absolutely as much as it can without pooling. And that's a learning process. I overdid it one time. And now I'm much more careful when I come back over an area and it appears to be dry, or I never touched it. I don't overdo it, and I certainly don't pool it. Okay, so now I've sprayed it. I've let it dry for a little while. I see areas that appear to be dry as if I had never sprayed it. I recoat those areas. Areas along the edges, I make sure those are got plenty on it. I roller it, wait a while, 5 minutes. I don't know. It depends on the temperature. Again, if it's very hot and you're in the sun, it's going to dry quicker than if it's into the shade or it's a cooler day or humidity or whatever. You're going to have to learn what that is. For me, it was about 5 minutes, and it would become transparent and the milk appearance would disappear, or most of it. And that's where I needed a roller to continue to roll it until all the milky sort of color was gone to that particular section. And again, I tried to get a very even distribution of it around, and I wanted the concrete to absorb as much of the sealer as possible. So I err on too much. And they warn you. And I never had a pooling. It never like it created a pool of sealant anywhere. Sometimes it just laid on top and the concrete couldn't absorb anymore, so there was some milky laying on top. It was really not a pool, and I don't think they really mean pool. It's just, it's milky, looks milky, and it's been a while, and it's still milky. It's 10 minutes and it's still milky. That's too much. You got to move that around with the roller. Okay, so once I have it as even as I can get it, I'm done with it, and I let it begin to dry. And it does not take very long to dry, to hand touch. And I've been tempted to drive over it, and I haven't done it. I'm waiting minimum 24 hours, and that seems to be fine. I know they say 48 to 72 hours. Again, it's going to vary on the temperature that you applied it and the 24-hour period that you're going to wait. If it's really hot like it is here, then it's going to be much quicker than if it's 60 degrees. That's a variable that you have to take into account. Coverage. The can, I bought 2 cans initially, and based on the range of coverage they said, I thought 2 cans would do my whole driveway. No. This concrete has never been sealed, and me attempting to make sure I get as much down in the concrete as possible, I had to go buy 2 more cans. So I have bought 20 gallons of it so far. Now, I don't know the square footage of my particular driveway. It's at least 1,000, probably more than that. But the point being is the coverage varies incredibly depending on whether the concrete has ever had any sealant on it or not. And in my case, it just soaks it up. It just literally, it's really going down in there. And I'll keep adding it until it doesn't want anymore. I want it to be really sealed. So I'm thinking it's at the low end. I think 250 square feet is the minimum it says on coverage, and I may be getting that out of 5 gallons. Probably a little more than that, but my point being is how much you're going to need. I bought 2 5-gallon containers to start with, and I ran through those pretty quick. And I knew I needed more, so I picked up 2. Now I have probably half of 1 left. I think I should be able to finish my job with the 1.5 cans I have left. And if I need any more at that point, I will go ahead and buy just a gallon of it. I think I'm that close to having it all done. But I've had to double just almost immediately the amount that I needed to do my driveway. I thought I was going to get away with 10 gallons, and I'm now close. I probably will use at least 20 gallons of the sealant. Again, it's water-based, so it just, and if it's hot. Anyway, again, play with it. Pay attention to it. Don't just, do it and to try to get it over with. I mean, that's not the goal here. The goal is to do it right so you seal your concrete and keep yucky and water out of it. So you want to do it right. So you're going to have to play with it. The nozzle on the sprayer is going to have to be played with. Hopefully you won't have to, but I do. You'll have to watch the area that you spray and see whether it's absorbing all that you put on and needs more, and where it needs more, and that takes a little bit of time. You can't rush that, and you have to sort of watch it and keep adding in areas needed, and it is not consistent. Some areas, some concrete sections, be only one area where it wants more. Other areas has got plenty and still milky looking. That's all I got. Play with it, look at it, learn from it. Just adjust your nozzles, adjust your spray pattern, make sure you cover all the edges. Move it back and forth, up and down. When I use the roller, I go in all directions, not just the same direction, but up and down and back around, and so I'm spreading it as best I can. That's about all I got. So you may need more than you planned you do, depending on how much your concrete is going to absorb it. And I do suggest you get a paint roller. They make them longer than 9 inches. It doesn't matter. You can get a longer one, and a pole. I find when I'm spraying as well as when I'm using the pole, the closer I am to the concrete, the better I can see what's going on. So if you're standing, you're 8 feet tall and you're spraying down there, you can't see it as well. But if you bend over a little bit, you can see a little better what's happening as you spray, as well as when you roll. So bending over, even if you have a rod on your roller, get down there and take a little good look, and watch what's going on. Too much about nothing. Uncle Ron and stuff. This has been about Thompson's water seal. Why did I pick that one? There are many on the market. Thompson's water seal has been around forever. I'm an old guy. I remember it 15, 20 years ago. I don't think I may have used it one time for something or another, but rightly or wrongly, anything that's been around that long is still in use and still available. I'm willing to, the user reviews on any product that you find. Somebody doesn't like it, it didn't turn out like they wanted it to, it didn't dry right or didn't do this right or something or other. I want to chalk that up to somebody who just wanted to do it and get it done with and get on with it. And they didn't care. They didn't read the instructions. They didn't try to learn as they went along and adjust their behavior depending on the situation. And this is one of those times where you do have to, what the temperature is and how your concrete absorbs and, whatever. Anyway, Thompson's been around for a long time, and I thought, okay, well, I'll at least do that. I don't know about the durability of it. I don't know how well it's going to last. It hasn't rained since I put any down, and it may be a chance today, but I don't think it's rained like 3 weeks here. Anyway, Uncle Ron stuff is too long. Thompson's all-purpose water seal is applied to a concrete driveway that had never been sealed, but power washed to 3,000 psi, and it does look good. It looks consistent, even though I've been doing it in concrete sections. It is changing the color and making it a little darker than it was when it was perfectly dry after having been pressure washed. That's all for today. Uncle Ron's stuff. Bye-bye. Oh, well, I forgot. Today is the 26th of June, 2024.